Hey guys, Preacher 357 here, out here on the range on this beautiful day that the Lord has made, and I can't think of a better thing to be doing than to be shooting some guns right now. And I've got a new revolver that I just picked up last week that I'd never seen before. Didn't know anything about this revolver. Saw it in the gun store in Jackson, Tennessee, and decided I really needed to pick this thing up. You can see the sun here blinding me. Nice bright sunny day, not the best for videos, but you got to do what you got to do, and it's time to come out here and shoot. So anyway, I've got this Charter Arms Professional 357. Now, I don't know much about Charter Arms really. They were founded in the 60s, and they're known for basically small snub-nose revolvers. That's kind of been their bread and butter. Short barrel. Their undercover 38 special was sort of a J-frame sort of gun, like the Model 36, though it was designed without a side plate, much like we see with the Rugers now. And it so happens the guy who founded Charter Arms had worked for Ruger, so maybe that's where Ruger got the idea, I don't know. But it's sort of the size of a J-frame. And of course, their other claim to fame, their famous gun is the Bulldog, which is their 44 Special, and that was made famous because the son of Sam Killer used that gun. But it was a very good gun, very good selling gun for the most part, I think. It sold well and was fairly popular. But Charter Arms went out of business in about '96, and then another company bought out the rights and reopened it, I guess in 2000, I believe it was. So the Charter Arms we have now are not exactly the same company as the original, but they have the same pattern of guns. It's the same models basically, but they do come out with some different things here and there. And this Professional is one that I hadn't seen, and it's a little bit bigger gun than I'm used to seeing from Charter Arms. And that was one of the things that struck me about this gun when I saw it in the display case there in the shop, Direct Hit in Jackson. And I decided I would pick this thing up and just try it out because I'd never shot a Charter Arms before. I've always wanted a Bulldog, but just never have found one I pulled the trigger on. And I've seen some of the newer Bulldogs, but I really want one of the classic models myself. But anyway, I picked this up, and I've been fairly impressed with this gun. I really have been fairly impressed with this gun. Until now. If you saw at the beginning there as I was shooting the target, I have lost the front sight off of this gun. I don't know if you can see that or not with the shadows, but I've lost the front sight off of this gun. It's not there. So that is a problem. And it looks like it may have broken off even. I'm not sure. Something I'm going to have to look into, obviously. But we're going to soldier on. I'm going to do the best I can with it. Not going to not make a video just because of a little thing like a front sight not being there. So we'll just do our best at guessing where I need to hold and do a little shooting with it. Now, I have been, other than that, impressed with the gun, as I said. Got a decent trigger on it. Decent. Double action. But the single action, wow. I mean, we're talking about a hair trigger. That is nice. Woo! You can't even tell that you're engaging the trigger in it, and it snaps. Boy, it's a nice single action trigger on this thing. One of the best out of the box I've ever felt that, that hasn't been worked on by a gunsmith. Really nice. The double action isn't bad. You'll notice it turns clockwise like a Colt. It also has, if you can see there on the hammer, it's got the notch here. There's where the transfer bar sits. And so it has a transfer bar safety like a Colt, like a Ruger. So in a lot of ways, it's more like a Colt than a Smith. More like a Ruger than a Smith in some ways. But when I first saw this gun, I thought, well, that's kind of like maybe a Model 65 Smith & Wesson. Fixed sights, 6-shot, 357. And so I compared it to my Model 65 Smith, and I've got it over here on the table. Now maybe you can see a little better. I'm kind of out of the shadows here from this camera angle. Here's my Model 65 Smith & Wesson. I said, well, they're sort of similar lengthwise, You know, the Smith has the bull barrel. It's got a heavier barrel than the Charter Arms. I think the Smith may actually be a little heavier. But when you look at them from the top, it stands out really quick that the cylinder on the Charter Arms is much bigger. Now, other than that, they're very similar in size, very similar in length. But of course, the window here for the cylinder is larger because it's got a larger cylinder, but it's definitely larger. So I said, well, maybe it's more like a L-frame Smith & Wesson, which is really a decent sized gun, especially for Charter Arms. Pretty big gun there. So here's my Model 686, which I love. Oh, that trigger. Oh, so nice. But I digress. Of course, this one has adjustable sights. But I compared the two of them, and looking at them side by side, once again, the Charter Arms has a larger cylinder. So it's larger even than an L-frame, but it's not as big as an N-frame. I didn't bring any of my N-frames out because I don't have any short barrel N-frames. They're all long barrels. So it's not as much apples to apples in that regard. So I did some measurements. And from what I measure, the cylinder has a diameter on this Charter Arms of 1.62. This is 1.56. This is about 1.45. This is the Taurus 856, which I really like. Of course, it's just 38 special. It doesn't shoot 357. This one's 1.4. A J-frame is 1.3. So 1.62 is pretty big. By comparison, an N-frame Smith & Wesson's about 1.7. So it's about halfway between an L-frame and an N-frame Smith & Wesson. So that's a pretty large gun. That's a pretty good sized gun. Now, I did try it in one of my holsters, one I actually have it on at the moment. And surprisingly, this is a K and L frame holster for Smith & Wesson. It'll actually still fit in this holster, which is made for a K or L frame. So if you have a leather holster for a Smith & Wesson L frame, it might very well work even for this gun, even though it's nearly as big as an N frame. Of course, obviously you might be able to get an N frame, and an N frame holster might work as well. But that was very interesting how big this cylinder is on this gun. And overall, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, obviously it looks like a Charter Arms. Their cylinder releases are very distinctive. They look like the old flat latch Smith & Wessons, but the whole latch doesn't move the same way. It's kind of like a little spring-loaded system they have here. Kind of strange, but other than that, you know, it looks pretty nice. Now, the fit and finish is not perfect. The grips here at the top, there's a little bit of a gap there. You know, it doesn't look as nice as a Smith & Wesson. It's not as hefty as a Smith. Like this gun here, you can feel how much heavier it is than this one. Even though this one has a larger cylinder, there's a lot more heft in this gun. There's a lot more steel in this gun. But, you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I kind of wonder how it would handle, you know, 357 with these wood grips here and all of that. But I was surprised it actually handles it quite well. It's not uncomfortable even with these grips. Now, I'm not crazy about these grips. You know, I might need to change them out for something else, but they're not bad. It feels pretty good in the hand. It shoots pretty well. At least it did when it had a front sight. So I'm not sure, you know, how well I'm going to shoot it now, but we're going to give it the old college try and just see what we can do. Maybe have a little bit of fun with it, and maybe I can kind of show it off. Now, obviously, this front sight problem is a problem. And like I said, it looks like it broke off in there. After I cleaned it the first time, I noticed it was turned sideways a little bit. And I screwed it back down a little bit, and it was still a little bit loose. So I unscrewed it all the way because it's just screw in. And I put a little Loctite in there and screwed it back on. And it seemed like it was holding, but I guess it just snapped off with that last 357 I shot. So obviously that's an issue, you know, if you can't keep the front sight on a gun. So I'll have to contact Charter about that, Charter Arms about that, and see about having them send me another. And I'll try to update you on that when I do. But anyway, let's just do a little bit of shooting, see if I can hit anything with it. This may be a wasted effort considering, you know, the fact it doesn't have that front sight on it. I may not be able to figure it out, but I'm gonna give it a try here. If I can't, we'll just make a really short video. But I just wanted to bring this gun to you. And I'd already started the video process before it fell off. Otherwise, I wouldn't even done the video today. But here I am, already out here. And I know you guys are going to want to see what I'm doing out here if I come out here on the range. So I don't want to deprive you of the joy of watching me struggle out here on the range. Hey guys, one other thing that I forgot to mention that I wanted to mention about this gun. So I'm going to stick it in here because I think you'll want to see this, is that the Charter Arms Professional 357 is actually what Smith collectors refer to as recessed. There you go. The rims of the cartridges are down inside the cylinder there, where they're flush with the back. That's known as being recessed. Now, technically, it's counterbored. The cylinders are counterbored. This is the way that Smith & Wessons used to be, and none of the Smiths I have out here right now are actually one of the older models. I wish I'd brought one of my older models so you could see it. But the new Smith & Wessons, and as well as Colt and all the rest of them, they're not that way anymore. And because there's really no need for them to be that way anymore. It used to be because they needed the extra support, but improvements in case design, you know, it's not required anymore. But you can see the cases here stick on the outside. They're not flush. And when you look at the Charter Arms here, they're counterbored, so that the cases sit all the way down in, the rims sit all the way flush with the back of the cylinder. So all you Smith & Wesson collectors who've been wanting a pinned and recessed Smith & Wesson, or at least a recessed Smith & Wesson, now you can go out and buy a Charter Arms and have that recessed, because that's all that really matters. And that makes the gun so much better than a Smith, right? Well, not really, but it's nice. It's not necessary, but it is nice to see that. I do like that. Not that it's practical or needed, but I do like it. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to mention that, and I forgot in the main part of the video. So anyway, back to it. So let's try a little bit over here. We'll just go out here and shoot the red plate here and the Cowboy. Try some of these closer targets. See what we can do. And I'll try the single action first. As I said, this single action is nice. It's really, really nice. All right, let's see if I can figure it out. I know where I'm going. All right, I'm going to have to hold low that way. It's going to be difficult. That's all she wrote. Well, I did manage to hit a little bit with it. I'm having to really hold lower than I thought I was going to have to with it. I may not even bother with the 357 because I wasn't able to hit as well with it generally anyway. But we'll just keep going a little bit here. We'll go to the Cowboy. Go out here to 35. See if I can figure that out. Keep going single action here. Yeah. Woo, that one was way off, wasn't it? There we go. Who says you need a front sight? Where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to shoot, you're going to shoot. Front sight or no front sight. All right, you know I've got to try it. No front sight at 100 yards. What do you think? Any chance? Well, since it's shooting low and I was having to hold up yesterday when I was shooting out there, maybe if I hold right on, I'll actually hit it. What do you think? No. All right, that was a little short. Can't tell where that one went. Almost there. Didn't figure it out. But we'll try just a little bit more here. Probably just wasting my time and wasting ammo. But there's a lot of fun in wasting ammo. There's a lot of joy to be had in just slinging rounds whether you hit or not. Sometimes it's not all about being able to hit. All right, we're gonna aim way low on this one. Really hard with that front sight. Really hard. Just wasted my time out there, obviously. It's the elevation's so far off without that front sight. I'm having to hold so low that just not doing any good. So I'm gonna put some 357 through here just so you can see that it does handle these all right. And I'm gonna shoot out there at 35 and see if I can figure this out at 35. I'm not guaranteeing I can, but I'm gonna try. You can see the recoil. It does have a decent amount of recoil because it is a light revolver. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where I'm going. I have to bring it down some more. There we go. So I got her once or twice. But you can see it does kick a little bit, but it doesn't really hurt. It's not too bad. But it is what it is. You know, it's a 357 Magnum in a fairly light package. Like I said, I think this is even lighter than my K-frame, despite the size of it. And I really wanted to give this gun a big thumbs up today, but there's one big problem, obviously, that I can't get over, and that's the fact the front sight came off. And this is only the second range session with this gun, so it's not like I've been shooting this gun a long time and it finally came off. You know, I put probably 150 rounds through it yesterday, and yep, there it is. We've got an issue that's a real issue, and I'll contact Charter Arms about that, see if I can't get that figured out, and you know, I'll give you an update on that. But other than that, so far I've liked this gun. I really have. I've enjoyed shooting it, and that's really disappointing. And maybe it's just a fluke. Problem is, there's just so little information on these guns out there that I don't know if anybody else is having this problem. I don't know if there's you know, other people that experience this with other Charter Arms guns. You know, maybe it's just a fluke. I don't know. But like I said, I'd never even heard of this gun. But you know, that is an issue, and one that's going to have to be resolved. And if I can get it resolved and it holds up after that, you know, I'll be glad to give it a rave review. But as of right now, you know, that's a quality issue that you know, it shouldn't happen. You know, you should not have a problem with your front sight blowing off the gun when you shoot ammunition that it's rated for. And that's not something I can just ignore, unfortunately, because otherwise I've been impressed with this gun, especially that single action trigger. Just barely any pressure. I need a trigger gauge. I bet that's under 3 pounds. I really do. But anyway, there she is, guys. Anyway, I appreciate y'all coming out. If you would, check out the description. There's a link there for the Gun Owners of America, the GOA. You can get a discounted membership there. Or you can click the link for the TFA, the Tennessee Firearms Association, and get in the fight if you live here in the state of Tennessee. Because we got a lot of stuff coming up this year. We're hoping to get a lot of legislation passed. And, you know, the Bruin decisions, I think, is going to make a difference. Now that we've seen the courts rule in favor of gun rights, I'm hoping, at least, that a lot of politicians will realize the error of their ways. But anyway, the links are there. If you will, click on one of those links, and both those links if you live in the state of Tennessee, and get in the fight. Or if there's other gun rights organizations you want to support, you know, just do your research first so you know if they're reputable or not, if they're really in the fight. But you know, do everything you can, because freedom is something that's easily lost, and it's hard to be gained back. So anyway, guys, appreciate you coming out. God bless you. Y'all take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.